Hey everybody, we have a great show coming up. Movie battles.
Grosse Point Blank versus Garden State.
An interview with the British actress Kim Spearman from the movie The Last Breath.
What's the best movie of 1982?
And a new intro.
What?
Same dickhead's new look. That's what we are. That's what we are. That's going to be the tagline for at least this episode.
I say that to myself every time I lose weight and I can see more and more of my penis. It's like, apparently when you're a fat guy, every 20 kilos you lose, your penis grows an inch.
Not even 5 seconds in, mate. We have come back on Oscar Day, which is unfortunate because we record this before Oscar Day, so we're a little bit ill-informed when it comes to all of that nonsense.
But congratulations to Honora for winning all the awards.
I was going to say, I want the Brutalist to win, but I think Honora's going to take it.
We'll just preempt it, see how psychic we are.
Yeah, I mean, right now you are a more informed show than we are. You're not even a show. You're a more informed audience than we are a show. Let's put it that way. Oh, off to a great start, mate. Welcome to Good Movie Monday. We are the podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. Back for another year. Had ourselves a long break. I'm Glenn Cochran. This is Ben Helwig. And it's good to be back. We had a decent summer break. And Ben, like as promised, I did not drag you back in to the Good Movie Monday verse over that time.
No, well, I didn't come into the studio. But I still got plenty of text messages.
Fuck off. Fuck off, you did. That's not true.
Maybe I didn't get as many as you wanted to send. But there were enough. Because I took the entirety of January off as well, like just from work.
Well, I left it till at least February before I started messaging you. Come off it. We have had a bit of a facelift too. If you're watching the video, you can see behind me, I've got a brand new design. Thank you too, of course.
Mr. Matt O'Neill at
That's
Mutant
right.
Design.
Much appreciated. Love his work. Love this new design. Very excited about it. Has some visuals. And as we have alluded to on our social medias, this year, for the first time, the entire show is in video form. So
I'm terrified. But what I am going to try and do, I've just been fiddling around with the work website trying to add a print-on-demand function to the shop.
Yeah.
But if that works, when I get that set up, I am going to, and if they have sizes set in a husky, I'm going to get myself an orange Good Movie Monday
Amazing
hoodie.
Amazing.
That I can wear on the show.
Oh, that would be incredible.
And then it won't look so weird when I don't change clothes week from week.
You'll be in uniform.
Yeah.
You'll blend right in, mate. Hey, we do have a good show for the first one. Coming back, we have Terrific TV Tuesday is back. That's Ben. That keeps Ben happy. It keeps him at the desk every week.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the attention span for cinema anymore, for films.
The Boneheads are back on board this year. They will be up later on. We've got a little bit of a new theme with them, which I'm excited to get started on. We're going to kind of join in with them, and we'll explain that in a little bit. Brand new segment called Movie Battles, which we don't know how that's going to go.
No, we haven't practiced it. We haven't rehearsed.
We haven't really talked about it.
We're
It's just called Movie Battles.
What's the term? We're flying without a net. We're jumping without a net. We're
flying without wings right now.
We're
mate.
on the trapeze without a net.
That's right. Man. I'm the top. If we're trapezing, you can catch me, all right?
Yeah, because you certainly couldn't catch me. Like it'd be like Stretch Armstrong. Your arms would just.
Yes, good movie pancake.
Yeah.
But we are going to do a movie battle between the movies Grosse Point Blank and Garden State, and whittle that conversation down to just one preference. We'll see how it goes.
That's interesting because they're both films about coming back for a high school reunion.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious to see how this one goes and what your preference is.
Coming home.
We also have an interview with Kim Spearman, as I said at the top of the show. She's a British actress. She's in a brand new shark movie called The Last Breath, which is also Julian Sands' final film. So we actually get to pick her brain about what it was like to work with him and what kind of guy he was. You can almost see Julian Sands behind Ben. He's slightly over. He's out of frame, but he's clearly meant a lot to us on this show over the years, and we've talked about him a lot. So anyway, let's get on with things. I probably shouldn't ask this question to you because I know the answer, but you probably did fuck all over the break. But how was it? How was it, mate?
Look, I enjoyed doing fuck all.
Yeah.
I will say there were occasions where I think even this weekend just gone, where I was so bored doing nothing, and it was 30 degrees. This is on the weekend.
Yeah.
That I actually did. I just did work.
Oh my god!
Because I was like, I can't just sit here watching. Because admittedly, I discovered a couple of great YouTube channels that have old British TV shows on them.
Okay.
And I binge watched the fuck out of these 80s, 70s and 80s TV shows. I think mostly 80s. British kind of TV. They only went for 1 or 2 seasons. And it's quite obvious why in one regard. But like after you do, because I think they're roughly an hour an episode or half an hour an episode. You do 8 of those, so it's 4 hours straight, and then you just can't sit anymore.
You have the audacity to come to this show week after week saying, "No, I'm not prepared. I've got nothing," and yet then you sit there and say, "I was so bored over the break that I just did work." You could have prepped.
I look at I actually have prepped.
I'm impressed then
For this show.
I'm
I just haven't prepped for any others going forward. I like to do my prep at 4:30 on a Friday.
And when do we record?
5 o'clock on a Friday. Doing it, Hey Siri is now my phone's just gone off. But Siri and Chat GPT do a lot of my prep work for me. Hey Siri, ask Chat GPT to write an opening monologue for Good Movie Monday.
To use Chat GPT, you'll need to enable it first.
Damn.
I wasn't expecting that to happen.
No.
Hey, I made some notes of things that did happen over the break. It's not a very big list because not a lot did happen. But hey, my wife got into a car accident over the break.
Yes, which you messaged me about. I did not, for some reason, see, because we were talking about something else, I think, in that message group. And then you sent me the photos and I was completely unaware. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get my new car. Like, what new car? Like, oh, no.
Scroll through your notes, mate.
Yeah, they found it. Yeah, got totaled.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, old car got wiped off.
It wasn't even that old.
No,
it was
new.
new.
Our new car got wiped off, and we now have a replacement new car, which is a much better car. But it was the other car we were hoping to replace, and so we're still stuck with the second best car. You know.
But what I like about the new car is that baby needs this little step to get into it. It's
a twin cab ute, and the tray at the back does have a step to get into.
Like I slid into it, but it was like one of those. It's one of those. There are certain kind of cars, like usually like a van or a thing where you basically sit, but you're standing up, like you're.
Oh, let me tell you, the day we bought it, we did the whole. She drives halfway home, I'll do the rest, just to get the feel for the car. And forgetting how high up this thing was, we both for the first time got into it like it was a regular car and basically dislocated our hips doing so. But I also happened to lose my wallet in the process, not realizing that it had fallen out because of that weird maneuver, and never got it back. Had to cancel all the cards. It was a nightmare. But my wife is fine. She does have a lot of physio to go through and some hydro and whatnot. But all intent and purposes, if you saw the look of the car at the time, which is on the screen now, she was lucky. Very lucky. What else happened? David Lynch passed away.
Yes.
That was a big one. And, of course, the day of or the day before we're recording, Gene Hackman passed away.
He did.
At this point in time, in very mysterious circumstances. And it's just... I can understand him passing because he was in his 90s, right?
95 years
old.
old.
But the circumstances are like, what? This is a Hollywood scandal.
Yeah, because his dog and his wife passed away.
And his dog was found in the closet.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't read that.
Yeah.
Because when I first saw the news, which was the night before we recorded the show, it was really weird because I think it was Variety had put out a statement or an article, and it said that Gene Hackman had passed away, his wife and his dog at the same time. Police have said no suspicious circumstances.
Yep.
But then all of the comments are like, well, how can there be no suspicious circumstances? His wife was 30 years younger than he was, and the dog.
And the family put out a statement saying it was carbon monoxide poisoning.
And that was the theory. But then all of the comments are like, but if it was carbon monoxide poisoning, then it is suspicious circumstances.
No, it's not, because you have those radiator heaters that leak it, and people can die.
It's totally a thing. And they used to have those guys come around with the boxes and do the testing.
But also, if you don't know what the cause of death is, but inherently
And it
is suspicious.
Yeah, it doesn't. That part didn't make sense. But I haven't read any.
Yeah, look, there's a lot more going to come out, and don't want to speculate, but it's a pretty tragic circumstances anyway. Husband and wife both found dead. Dog in cupboard. That's
Yeah.
weird. But like the passing of a legend, like we quite often stop and give ourselves a little bit of a tribute to these people when they pass away. He was one of the last standing Hollywood legends.
Yeah, it is that you have kind of punted what's going to be my recommendation at the end, but
Bang.
because I just had all I did was just list Gene Hackman films. But I am curious, Glenn, whose death has affected you more, David Lynch or Gene Hackman?
David Lynch, because it was before his time. I think he was not as old and frail. Like we've seen photos of Gene Hackman in recent years, looking like he's
Gene
already
Hackman
died.
was 95, but that being said, Gene Hackman lived a relatively clean life, whereas David Lynch was a heavy smoker.
Well, yeah, 100%. I don't know. Like
And he died of complications
and
to
it's
smoking.
It's
too.
very
It was
interesting.
like
Maybe it's that. And it's a very interesting conversation because David Lynch's films have really had a profound effect on me.
Yeah.
And sort of made me understand film in a different way. However, more of Gene Hackman's films have been enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like
It is a weird thing, isn't it? And I guess the other thing too is that Gene Hackman is isn't a filmmaker.
No.
He's an actor. So
Yeah.
he's the one you see on screen. So you
And
have a relationship with him
David
because you
Lynch
see him.
was also very fan forward, prevalent on social media. He did his
Yeah.
weather reports every week or every day, and he was just an interesting
He
person.
released that DVD on how to make a lamp. And he
I
did
love
coffee.
the documentary about him. Twin Peaks, obviously, a very strong place in my heart. So I think just the fact he was younger, I didn't know he was sick at the time when he passed. Like, it was just shock news to me. Gene Hackman, it was like, okay, he's dead. That didn't catch me by surprise, but the fucking circumstances did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was like Betty White. You're like,
It's going to happen.
it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
What's your favourite Gene Hackman movie? Or performance, either one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a hard one, or do you want to save that for later? Have a think
Yeah, I
about
was
it?
going to... Yeah, look, I'm just looking at... I've got yeah. I don't know, because the funny thing was, for a lot of his films, he's not playing a particularly likable character.
No, but he's likable being unlikable.
Unlikable. And he himself, like, you paid a Gene Hackman tax. Like, any filmmaker I've talked about who talks about working with him, that he was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's very particular. He was grumpy. He was, he was Gene Hackman. And I listen to all this stuff, and like, sometimes you hear about an actor who is difficult to work with, and you're like,
Yeah.
And I hear about Gene Hackman, I'm like, that's your problem.
That's
He's
right.
great.
Yeah,
Come
he's
deal with it.
fantastic, and I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I would have to probably say Hoosiers.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice. Mine's unexpected. Well, it's not unexpected in that, I've got a reputation, but it's unexpected because I don't think it's his best film, but my favorite
Hang on, let me guess.
my favorite performance of his is
The Replacements.
No.
Heartbreakers.
No, French Connection
Welcome
2.
to Mooseport. Okay.
French Connection 2 because it's a part 2. So shut your faces, people. It's because I love the journey his character goes on. Like, he becomes a drug addict to get the bad guy, and like it's really fantastic and really deep dive into addiction, and he plays it so well.
So I've never seen it. The funny thing was that when I was working at Bounty and we were doing a lot of classics, we released the 7-Ups, which Jim Sherlock, like when he found out, he called me and he said, oh, that's the unofficial sequel to The French Connection.
Yeah, that's right.
And I, not really knowing anything about
Yep.
7-Ups or French Connection 2, I was like, oh, that's great. And I'm using it in all our copy and stuff. And then when I jump on the old IMDb, I'm like, no, there is a sequel to The French Connection.
Yeah, that's right.
What is he talking
the
about?
best thing about the 7-Ups, it's the sequels, 14-Ups, 21-Ups. They're really good. I don't remember Gene Hackman in those. But Nighthawks was originally French Connection 3, the Sylvester Stallone film.
Yeah,
and somewhere along the line, the production just got fractured and went that way. But it was made to be French Connection 3.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that. I've never seen Nighthawks or French Connection 2.
We got a movie night ahead of us, my friend.
Something to look forward to. Hopefully, they're both films where I go, why did it take me so long to see? Not that I have to say, I didn't really enjoy French Connection.
Oh, really? I love it.
Like, I know a lot of people do. And it's it's Billy Friedkin, and it's got like this great kind of chase sequence and all this sort of stuff in it. And Popeye Doyle is this iconic character.
Yep.
But I never really like. I watch it. I'm like similar to Bullet. I watch it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. And then just never thought about it again. Whereas something like The Conversation, you watch it at the end and you're just like, holy fuck,
I think you'd like part 2, French Connection.
Right.
It's a different kind of movie. It's really cool. There we go. Valet, Gene Hackman.
You know what else happened over the break?
No, but you walked over the segue there, but let's keep going. Let's do it.
Because I know that you were about to do a segue and I wanted to jump in.
Yep.
Monster Fest announced its Monster Fest Weekender program.
Oh, you did look at my notes because you realised what I missed.
And
want to talk about that weekend?
Is it there?
Good work, my friend.
I didn't see you didn't send me your notes. You just sent me
I didn't want you to see my notes.
Yeah, you just sent me the episode rundown, the cheat sheet for when I'm running the show,
and, which is something that's going to be happening, folks.
Yeah, that's right. You're in for a surprise.
Very short show.
No guests, no Ben.
Phoning it in from the shitter.
Yeah.
When your legs are numb, the show's done.
But yes, so the Monster Fest Weekender this year, the Monster Fest Weekender, it's Monster Fest Weekender 3 Part 2, the sporting, because it is actually the 4th. I want to let people in on the gag. It is the 4th Weekender. That's why we've called it Part 3, Part 2. And it's all rep films. It's all sequels, which should make you very happy.
I need to sue you guys. Not only did you steal my thunder with the number 2 themes, you took my fucking Part 3 number 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you for Caddyshack.
Caddyshack 2 Part 2. Sons of bitches.
And let me tell you, I got quite a bit of kudos for coming up with that. And you did not.
It was sitting right back here, motherfucker.
You did not feature in any of my thanks.
I looked at that and I'm like, you fucking sons of bitches.
There are some fantastic films playing, and we're playing this year. We're in Melbourne, we're in Perth, we're in Sydney, we're in Adelaide, we're in Brisbane, and we're in Canberra.
My God.
The only 2 capital cities that we are not in is Hobart and Darwin.
Yeah.
So pick up your game, Darwin and Hobart.
It's on them, is it?
It's on them. They just need to ask.
Okay.
We will be more than happy to send the program out to them.
Oh, imagine you up there, sweaty and stuff.
Yeah, like I get sweaty in Melbourne. I'm not going to survive in Darwin. It's a fantastic program. We've got
amazing.
Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Mm-hmm. We've got I forget. That's it. That's all I can remember. Phantasm 2.
RoboCop
2.
Yep. Just look at that door. That might help you.
Yeah. Return to Oz. Return to Oz is the only one that doesn't have a Part 2 in the title.
In the title, yeah.
We've got Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh. We've
Amazing.
got I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Actually, that doesn't have a Part 2 in the title either. We've got... what else? Have I mentioned everything?
Are you going to do this?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2?
100%. The last time I watched that theatrically was you put that screening on.
We did, yeah. At Friday Fright Night.
Yes.
What a fucking great film that is.
Oh, it's amazing. It is amazing.
I was just listening, on the way here, I was listening to the BFI podcast with a guy who's written a book on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And he was the guest. And he was just the way they were talking about it. And at no point do they mention Part 2, but it's just so interesting how he subverted all the stuff that they're talking about in Part 1, how he subverted it for Part 2, and how glorious Part 2 is.
Not only made it a glorious film, but like a legitimate continuation of the story.
Yeah.
That's what's so good about it, I think. Because, number 3 comes along, self-contained, not a bad movie, but as a continuation, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Number 2 does. It's a perfect continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
But the interesting thing too, I thought, like they were talking about how the first one is actually gothic, even though it is all set in the daylight. But it's like a gothic noir kind of film set in the daylight. Like it's a house on the hill. It's full of secrets.
Yep.
There's there are shadows and darkness and stuff coming from and then you kind of realize that in the first one, just because of the very nature of it, but everyone comes to the house. And the interesting thing about part 2 is it's the family leaving the house.
Yeah.
And the chaos that causes.
100%.
Um,
And it's got Dennis Hopper.
and it has Dennis Hopper with a chainsaw. In a chainsaw battle. It's like he knew what happened and he trained himself on the chainsaw. Like, I'm going to learn how to kill with one of these things. And Reanimated 2, Brighter Reanimated. I forgot that one too.
Incredible.
It's Terrific TV Tuesday, the only Tuesday TV segment that drops on a Monday.
Well, that was a lovely intro. And that means we all know what time it is. It's time
Ben time.
for Terrific TV Tuesday. The only Terrific TV Tuesday segment that drops on a Monday.
Thought we were done with that.
No.
Clearly not.
No.
What do we have an intro for?
We'll be done with it when I get it right. And when you can play the intros for us live here in the studio.
I forgot to program them in.
It's got to hit those buttons.
Alrighty. So this is where we talk about, we are a movie podcast. Anyone that's new, let's just lay that out there. Anyone that's new to the show, because there may be some people, we're a movie show. So this segment was Ben shoehorning his own little, just his way to have a bit of glory, I guess.
Yeah, look, I'm too lazy to start my own podcast. And I wasn't part of the show right from the start. So I was not part of the decision-making process to call it Good Movie Monday. And I watch a lot of TV. And the best part of watching a lot of TV is talking about it.
Mind you, I got you on the show in the first place because you work in movies.
Yeah. Oh, it was a total...
Hey, I was happy for him to do it because I do like talking about TV. I just don't watch it as habitually as you. However, over the break, I've had a chance to catch up on a lot of television, so I'm locked and loaded, ready to go.
I liken it to when you first start going out with a girl and she says things like, I don't want to have kids. And I love watching sports and stuff. And then as the relationship progresses, you realise it's all a load of shit. So I was like, oh, no, I don't care about TV. I'm all about movies, Glenn.
Yeah.
I totally...
I saw a TV meme that really was applicable to you and I the other day. So, there's that saying, I like to Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
I saw one that said I like to VHS and fuck. Much more appropriate.
Much more appropriate, yeah.
So anyway, shall we talk about some television?
Let's do it.
You want to go first or you want me to?
I'll go first
All right.
because it's my segment.
Yep.
That's,
What was that?
it's a
Something got out.
little...
He's leaking.
one of the souls that I've swallowed tried to escape, but I kept it in. I watched so much TV over the break, but I'm going to talk about a show that, funnily enough, only dropped a couple of days ago. It was recommended to me by Mr. Matt O'Neill, who did our graphic design, and I immediately ran to check it out. It is a show called 1000 Blows, or The 1000 Blows. It's on Disney Plus. It's created by Stephen Knight, who, apart from writing movies like Dirty Pretty Things and Eastern Promises, also was one of the creators of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
What?
And he is the showrunner and creator of Peaky Blinders. And this is kind of...
That's where I know his name.
Yeah, set in a very kind of similar time in the 1880s. It's all about the 40 Elephants, who were an all-female crime syndicate based in the East End of London.
I've seen this thumbnail on Disney.
Yeah.
Cool.
But within that, it's also set around the world of kind of bare-knuckle boxing.
Cool.
And it's awesome. It's 6 episodes. It stars Erin Doherty, who plays Mary Carr. Stephen Graham, one of your favourite actors, and it's so amazing to watch him because he's Henry Sugar Godson, who is the self-proclaimed Emperor of the East Side.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of bare-knuckle boxing
he suits
champion.
The bill. He fits the bill, yeah.
It's amazing because he's a little nugget of a man, but they really struggle during the boxing scenes because he's quite short.
Yeah.
But he looks...
You wouldn't want to fuck with him.
God, no. And he played Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire, and he's a complete psychopath. But in this, he's worked up his upper body so much that he now looks wider than he is tall. Like, he is so muscly, yet all the fight sequences, he's really punching up.
They could have put him on a box.
They could, yeah. Especially with his main kind of rival in the show is this a guy called Ezekiel Moscow, who's a Jamaican boxer who's come over from Kingston. He's immigrated to kind of London in search of a better life. He actually wants to become a lion tamer.
Okay.
But when he gets to the zoo, the guy at the zoo had offered him a job. And when he gets there, the guy's like, oh, yeah, look, the lions are on their way. They're on a boat. They're on their way here. But in the meantime, you can be the African savage in our, sideshow. And, of course, that does not sit well.
No.
But, yeah, look, it's a fantastic show. If you like Peaky Blinders, you will love this. 6 episodes. You breeze through them. I watched them in 2 days. Matt watched them in a day.
Oh, wow. How does it stack up to something like Carnival? Do you remember Carnival?
Look, I only ever watched a couple of episodes of Carnival.
Yeah.
I'm not
comparing it to the circus part, but just the style.
The style. Yeah. Look, it's very... Look, it's much more Peaky Blinders.
Cool. All right. Yep.
It's very British.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
It's very British.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So I don't really watch Star Wars outside of the original trilogy or maybe the second trilogy. Like, I've not really latched onto the television shows they've done, Mandalorian, all that kind of stuff. With Aodite or whatever it's called, the Acolyte is what Acolyte and Obi-Wan Kenobi. But there's a brand new one,
whatever the hell it is.
Brand new one that I could not get enough of, called Skeleton Crew with Jude Law. And this show is you take Flight of the Navigator, Stranger Things, and The Goonies and whack it together.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. And I love that childhood adventure kind of stuff. And this show is just wonderful. It took me right back to when Star Wars did the Ewok movies.
Yeah.
It's like a modern day version of that. Just an unapologetic, adventurous kind of kids show that kind of also feels a bit like Firefly without the adult kind of themes through it. Jude Law's fantastic. He plays not a bounty hunter, he plays a sky pirate.
Yeah.
Who passes himself off as a Jedi, tricks these kids into thinking he's a Jedi, and these kids on their planet, they live on a planet that is hidden from the rest of the known universe, right? It's like shielded, and it's the mythical lost planet.
Right.
They find an old ancient spaceship that they reactivate, and it takes them outside their shield. Jude Law comes along, finds them, and then realizes their planet holds a treasure far bigger than anything in the universe, and tells them he's a Jedi and tricks them into finding the treasure, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
The way it all plays out, I don't know how many episodes it was. I feel like it was about 8 or 9. It was a short kind of show, just perfectly measured all the way from start to finish without any lull in the middle. The characters are great. So,
because a lot of those Disney shows like Mandalorian and stuff, you've got the feeling there's always a couple of episodes in the middle where you're like,
no,
you've popped this in just to get to the full 8.
No, this is just all win. Like, my wife was watching it with me; she got hooked on it too, and it's a lot of practical effects. There's a little character that looks like a little elephant boy. He's got a big trunk, and Mel fell in love with him. Like, he's just the best. Really cool show. And what blew my mind more is, I don't know if you know music from sort of the mid-2000s, but there was a TV show, there was a band called TV on the Radio. Do you remember them?
I remember the name.
Well, I was watching this, and the father in this show is the lead singer from TV on the Radio. And I'm watching him going, I know where you're from. And then watching something else unrelated that same week, and he pops up singing a song on the little desk show on fucking YouTube. That blew my little mind.
I've seen the first couple of episodes.
Yep.
And so I know who the dad is recognizable.
He's a black guy with glasses and a beard.
Yeah, but I'm trying now. I need to
just go
see.
TV on the Radio band. I'll put him on the screen too. That's the best thing about this being a video show now. We can reference stuff. Ben's looking it up. Anyway, so that's my recommendation. There you go, that guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, okay. Tuendi?
Yeah,
is that his
that's
name?
his name. He's fantastic.
Tundi Adempimpe.
Amazing singer-songwriter, and clearly also an actor. I had no idea.
Yeah, we go.
Glenn and Ben have an interview to play for you now. It's a good interview. I've seen it, and frankly, I think it's a great interview. People tell me it's the best interview they've ever seen, or if you're listening to this podcast, it's the best you've ever heard.
Okay, time for our interview of the week. Kim Spearman, looking forward to playing this one for you. I love a good shark movie, and the exciting thing about this one when it came out was it's from the director of Breaking Surface, which is a movie I loved. I think it's Norwegian, if I'm not mistaken, or Danish, one of those. Fantastic deep sea underwater kind of thriller. So Perfect kind of director for a shark movie. I'll just quickly read the synopsis because I don't think in this chat that we get into the synopsis too much. So just to let people know what it's about.
Yep.
The synopsis does read, a group of old college friends reunite on a Caribbean scuba diving trip, exploring the wreckage of a World War II battleship and find themselves trapped inside an underwater labyrinth of rusted metal surrounded by great white sharks. Great premise. Now, I fucked up in this interview, I realised after we recorded it. I referenced the incident from Jaws. It's not the same at all.
And she played along.
She played along or didn't know.
It's because this movie really is Jaws meets The Big Chill.
Or Club Paradise.
Yeah. Club Paradise. Jesus.
Anyway, here it is. The movie is now available on DVD and digital, so go check it out. And after that, we've got something new coming up. How are you, Kim?
I'm really well. How are you guys?
Doing really good. Really pleased to be chatting. Thanks for making some time for us.
Nice. Thanks for having me.
So you just got back from South Africa. Were you working on something exciting?
No, my husband's from South Africa, so Cape Town is like second home for us. So we were back just after Christmas to visit family and do all the gorgeous naturey things, hiking, swimming, snorkeling, all of that. So
you don't bring a scoop for us, is what you're saying?
No, unfortunately, not quite. Just a family holiday.
No shark. No.
No, thank God. I'm happy. Although we did see a Cape Cobra, which was definitely something I don't want to see again. So, yeah.
What is that?
It's a big old snake that you don't want to mess around with. So.
Oh, wow. My God. But that was a good segue, Ben. Talking about sharks, we may as well
yeah,
talk about Last Breath.
It's very difficult.
Firstly, were you a fan of shark movies to begin with?
Yeah, I think I love a movie that got that suspense, entertainment factor of that. And like shark movies, they're always so entertaining, I think. And actually, I've got to say, I love The Meg. That's like my ultimate I'm on an airplane movie to watch. There's something just so fantastically insane about it all. Yeah, I love that.
If they go for a third one, you'll have to audition.
Oh, yeah, naturally, obviously. Me and Jason. Yeah.
Before we get to the film, but do you have any favourite ones? Like, obviously The Meg, but like, did you grow up on these things? Because Ben and I were pretty much raised on them.
You know what? My first sort of interaction with that was I remember when I was a kid and my dad took me to Universal Studios and they had that really old school Jaws ride. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that scared the ever-living shit out of me when I was a kid. I think I had to be taken off air. I cried my eyes out. I just remember that being like the most frightening thing I've ever seen. And like, the quintessential tourist picture that you take with the upside down shark and pretending it's like eating you kind of thing. So yeah, I think that was my sort of first interaction with anything sort of shark movie when I was a kid.
That's pretty cool. I mean, and there's you go on, Ben.
I was going to say, I like that that's traumatizing for some people and other people propose under that shark.
Do they? What?
Yeah.
That's nuts. I love that.
That's right. You got to slice the guts open and find the ring.
That's right. That's right. It's like a sword type challenge.
That's right. Well, that was a good segue too, Ben, because like Jaws has the USS Charlotte in it. That's where sort of most people are familiar with that particular story, as told by Quint. You guys got in just in the nick of time because there's another Charlotte movie coming out. So just pit them at the post. Yeah, Beasts of War. So.
Oh my God. I tell you what, in the last 2 years, I swear I've never seen such an explosion of shark movies. It felt like last year there was one like every 3 months. Yeah, like Under Paris. And like, I was just like, oh my goodness. It suddenly just feels like, I know it's always had like such a cool little fan base for shark movies. It's like a little horror niche that people love. And like, but I feel like it's got even more popular in the last couple of years, definitely.
Yeah, they got to keep Shark Week topped up.
Exactly.
Titles. I remember a few years ago watching the movie Breaking Surface and just saying to my wife, like, imagine if this director did a shark movie. And here we are. He has. Were you familiar with that film before you jumped into this one?
I wasn't, but it was one of the first things I watched when I started auditioning, and I just saw it and I was like, it was amazing. And Joachim he's just the most incredible presence to work with, and he's very like, sure of what he wants, but also very calm and just so involved in the process. And the process is always very like, what do you think? What about this? And very collaborative. Um, and he, because of the experience he had had on breaking surface with the two women and not having really had much dive experience, from that it gave us the most wonderful experience because they gave us so much prep. And I think from that and learning actually how claustrophobic those masks are and how intense it is shooting it, they, before we started filming, they sent us to Malta to train for like a week as a cast. And some of us had dived a bit, some of us had never dived. And they sent us night diving, cave diving, like all sorts of things to get used to the claustrophobia of the tank that we were shooting in. And that was just, I mean, one of the most insane experiences of my life. Like they took us down to an actual air pocket that was about 10 meters down to like be able to take our masks off and like feel what that would actually feel like. And I felt like Joachim was such a driving force to make sure that we had that like true life experience before that. And because of breaking service, which just, yeah, felt very privileged to have.
That's really cool. I assume he speaks fluent English?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Excellent. Makes it easier. Admittedly, like I hadn't done a lot of research into sort of the production of this, sort of wanted to come in fresh, but talk about like the exterior shots. Did that take you to far into the earth to film? Where did the surface stuff get shot?
So all the exteriors were shot out in Malta with our amazing dive team, Dive Med, who they did our training. And then they were with us in Belgium when we shot the interiors, and then back to Malta with all of them. And they were just the most incredible people. And if you ever want to go scuba diving, they are the people in Malta to go with. So yeah, all the exteriors were shot there, and the water there is just amazing. It's so perfectly clear. But I think we did all the interiors first in the tank, and the tank itself was about 4 meters with multiple levels. And then you couldn't just like swim up to get out. There was like a lid on the top and you had to find the exit kind of thing. So after spending like a month shooting like that, I remember my first day, we shot our first exterior and I suddenly felt like someone had shrunk me this big. And I was actually so freaked out by the amount of space. It took us a minute to sort of be like, oh, I'm in open water now. There is all the space. I'm not this big. It's totally fine.
How
I was actually curious after, our friend has made his own shark movie last year that we played at Monster Fest, but that was all fake. It was all set in the past, so they're all wearing like the really old school diving.
Oh my goodness!
The giant bell helmet and stuff like that. But he shot all of that on
a soundstage
like a
with
set,
smoke,
and then added the fake water and stuff. And so I was watching this, going,
"That's wild.
Is it real?
Yeah,
no, it has to be real."
That's amazing that they can do that. It's so that's amazing.
He's talking about a film called Fear Below, and they use smoke to emulate the murkiness of the water, and then I guess in post they made those little bubbles and stuff like that. But yeah, so he put you through hell for nothing.
I guess you couldn't do that with those old school dive suits. I mean, oof,
that's all right.
Terrifying.
How many,
they weigh a ton.
How many hours were you underwater for at any given time?
So we would just basically go till our tanks were done. So that could be depending on what we were shooting, because obviously if you're shooting a more high octane scene, you're breathing heavy, you're using more air. So it would probably be like an hour. We'd come out, refill tanks, have 10 minutes, go back in. So we were shooting to 10, 12 hours a day in the water, and for like a good couple of months, which was. Yeah, I mean, I love the water anyway, and had a bit of scuba and freediving experience beforehand. But that was, I felt like very aquatic by the end of it. I was like, I need the water.
That's like months of being a prune.
Literally. Oh my God, yeah.
So you start rubbing the neck, and the gills are starting to come out.
I was very disappointed they didn't sort of.
Is it difficult to block scenes when you're underwater? Like, how does that work? Like trying to orchestrate everything with.
How do you find your mark?
Yeah,
so
floats away.
I'll tell you what, that tank was so dark as well. Like we had the fantastic rescue masks, so we could talk to each other underwater. But sometimes the comm system wouldn't work properly, and like a catch, maybe Jack or Alex or like Joachim talking to us from the surface. But the tank itself was so dark, I couldn't really see anyone further than this. So beforehand, what we would do, we would block it in a green room, block it all out. And then when we got to the tank, Joachim had this like whiteboard with a map on it, and we had these little tiny magnetic scuba divers, and that would represent each of us. And he'd be like, "Okay, so you're going in here, and then you're going to swim down here, and then you're coming out there, and then Alex, you're coming in here, and then I want you to exit through this way." So it was a very militant kind of, this is your map, you've got to pay attention, this is your mark, this is what's happened when you get down there. And obviously, after a couple of weeks goes by, you're like, I've got the hang of this. And then you've gone through the whole instructions section. You're like, I wasn't listening very well. Oh, okay, sorry. Get down there. You're like, okay. But because of how dark it was down there, trying to navigate that at first was very difficult, and trying to get in and out of the space. And because of the light on the rescue mask, they had to diffuse it. Otherwise, you just blind the camera. But that meant it kind of went back into your face. So a lot of the time I could see around me, but I could sort of just see my own eyes reflected back at me, which is kind of intense when you're doing like a 5-person scene and you're trying to swim and scream and blood and everything in the water. So that was like acting is all about listening, and you're about the other person. And it just suddenly created this very insular environment where you had to just trust yourself and trust Joachim over the speaker that he's getting what he wants and can see it on the camera, and it's going to be fine, you know? So yeah, it was the most insane but most incredible thing I've ever done, for sure.
So, I'm assuming that the sharks are CGI. They're not. They weren't real with just a plate of glass in between you or anything.
Oh yeah,
like
God.
that. So
yeah, thank God. But we did have one of the girls who was a stunt double and a safety diver, Melly. She's the most incredible free diver. So sometimes when we needed like the eye line, she would jump in the water in a little grey swim hat and a grey scuba suit and just swim really quick. And our little Melly shark would run through the tank. And we'd be like, oh. It's just cute.
It doesn't seem like the kind of movie that you could get away with just a tennis ball that you have to.
No, definitely not. Like too much going on. So it was fab to have her like swimming through very joyfully to run away from, which was cute.
So what's your point of contact, your eye contact, when you need to all react at the same time suddenly to like a shark? Is there a cue there for you, something that moves that you can all look at?
We had like a general sort of understanding from the briefing where we would need to be looking at. But it was mostly Joachim helping us a lot. We had like an underwater speaker and he'd be on the top of the tank in a little kayak with his like walkie-talkie and being able to see the screens and the monitors and just being able to sort of just direct us and making sure we're perfectly positioned. And yeah, I never knew
he didn't pull a Jim Cameron and go down there with you and actually direct from underneath.
No, he didn't. But I mean, everyone else is quite funny because you had like the producers and then Joachim on the surface and the rest of us, the whole team's just down there. So, your sound team are all scuba divers. Everyone's a diver. I was like, I didn't know there was such a niche for all of this. It's kind of crazy.
Sounds insane. We can't have you here also without talking about Julian Sands, because Ben and I don't think there is like a month goes by on our podcast that we don't talk about Julian Sands. Like, we're a little bit obsessed with him. Yeah, I mean, can you talk about working with him? Like, he's sorely missed, obviously. Like, Ben and I were very upset, but like, we love him so much. What was he like as a guy to work with?
He was fantastic. He was very mischievous and very fun and positive. He was so involved in the process from day one, which like when you meet someone who's had this like his long career, worked with some incredible people and some amazing films, you kind of have this expectation they might be a bit removed like from the process and step in when they need to do their bit. But he was so grounded, and so we did so much like workshopping beforehand in London, and he was there for every step and so like encouraging and very mentor-like to Jack, who plays Noah, just really positive and cheering you on, and that's such an amazing thing from somebody like that. And he wanted to be there for every scene. So even if he wasn't on camera, he would give it every line to you, maximum effort every time. He would never like shorten you out on anything. and he'd be in the water doing as much as he can of it. And yeah, he was fantastic. And I feel very,
awesome.
yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's right.
Um,
It looked like he had
yeah.
so much fun, and I just love
Yeah.
the quirkiness of his character. Obviously, he's a cheeky reference to Jacques Cousteau. Like, that was hilarious to me, and he played it that way, which was funny.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with his work going into it?
I was, there was a few things that I was familiar with, but yeah, he was quite new to me as this like presence on set, and he just was a very incredible, grounded, like guiding force through it all, I think. And absolutely hilarious. And he would play like little pranks on set, and just, yeah, you could tell someone who just absolutely loves what they do, and they're just about the work. And there's, airs and graces about it. It's just the work and passion, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
And he arguably would have had the best time just in terms of hair and makeup, because he just gets to be scruffy. So you just know,
in and out, done.
It's like, yeah. Not taking my shirt off in this one, so I'll just doesn't matter if I'm not in the best of shape.
Didn't even have shoes
don't
on.
have to brush my hair. Don't have to,
And I think also, I remember him saying to us as well, I think this was one of the few times in his career that he got to use his own accent as well. And be that Yorkshire kind of accent, which I think was really fun for him to play with as well.
Which is funny because it takes you off guard a little bit. You're like, hang on, is he putting on an accent? What's going on here?
I didn't expect it either. We did our first table read. Everyone was in an American accent, so I was expecting that, and then I just suddenly was like, oh, okay, that's nice. Spice it up a bit.
Absolutely. Look, I'll wrap this up in a moment, but before we let you run, I just want to know what kind of movies you watch when you're not making movies.
Oh, I do like a horror. I've got to say, I love a horror. What was the last thing I watched? I'm very open to what I watch. I'm very I want to try lots of new things. I think one of my favorite films I've seen in the last couple of years was The Triangle of Sadness. I thought that was absolutely incredible. And
was there any spewing on your boat?
No, there wasn't actually. And if anyone got mildly nauseous, they would put you in one of the speedboats that would take us the boat. And apparently that's the trick. They just spin you around in circles really fast and put you back on, and you're okay again. So.
Oh, geez. Doesn't sound...
So that has the opposite effect on me.
No.
They spin me around really fast. I go on the teacup ride.
And it worked. They would just drive around the bay really quick and pop us back on. So, yeah, thank God, no seasickness.
I watch people on the teacup ride and I start feeling sick. I can't...
I mean, how cool that you love horror movies and now you're on the poster of a shark movie. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think it ticked a big box for me. Definitely, I think it was it's not every day you get to do that sort of thing, and as an actor early on in your career, to be able to take on so much action and be able to do so much stunt work and all of these, big moments. So, yeah,
100%.
I mean, I do want to ask, did you get frustrated that no one seemed to have read the script? Like, they could have picked up those pipes at any point in the movie and killed the shark, and the movie would have been over in 10 minutes. Like, just read ahead, people. It happens really early on. You're like, come on, guys.
Yeah. I mean, why don't you just take on the shark immediately? Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for making time for us. Been a real thrill to chat with you and talk about Julian too. That was a nice little segue. So thank you.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It's been lovely. Have a lovely evening.
I'm disappointed that your dog didn't make an appearance. So.
And then, wait, let me grab her.
Okay. Camera's still rolling.
This is the dog. There we go.
Lovely. Look at that coat.
Like, where's that peanut butter?
That's
where's that peanut butter?
1982, Time Magazine's Man of the Year was a fucking computer. That's absurd.
All right, so yes, the Boneheads are back, and their fun size segment is going to be a bit different this year. Instead of them picking random topics, we're going to count down the years, starting from 1982, and every week they're going to do a new year, all the way to the final episode of the year, which brings them to this year, 2025. So
That'll save us from doing the top 10 of the year.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
We'll
I have a
just do
different
it
idea for Christmas this year, which I'm just mulling around in my head before I go and blurt it out. But yes, that's kind of the plan. Is that we can and it gives
No Christmas.
It gives us something to kind of tie in with their segment as well. We can have a bit of a chat before we find out what they think. But yeah, 1982. I mean, we're going to struggle with this right through the 90s and the 80s and all that, like because nearly everything was good.
Too many bangers.
So why don't I each week go through the top 10 highest earning movies of the year? All right, these are American releases. I haven't factored in the Australian ones. But I'm going to count it backwards from 10 down to 1. So number 10 was unexpected. It was The Biggest Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Big hit. I released that on DVD, on Blu-ray.
Yeah, number 9 was Poltergeist. Already 2 bangers. Number 8 was 48 Hours. Number 7 was Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Number 6 was Porky's.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 5 was Rocky 3. Number 5. Yeah, Rocky 3. Then number 4. Number 4 was First Blood. So that's
what a great film.
2 Sylvester Stallone movies right there. Number 3 was An Officer and a Gentleman. Number 2 was Tootsie, and number 1 was E.T. the Extraterrestrial. So that's a good year of film. Oh, there's better years coming up. Like that's the hard part of this.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon? Like in any of those, your best? Do you think any of those are the definitive movie from '82?
Well, I was going to say, look, what you didn't mention, there's also Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah, I didn't mention them because they're not in the top 10.
Top 10. Yeah.
Right.
But that's interesting that these movies weren't in the top 10, but
100%.
these also came out that year. And I'm not mentioning any of the films that the Boneheads have
Okay,
chosen.
cool.
So if there are a couple missing, that's why. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah.
Tron.
Yep.
King of Comedy. Amityville 2: The Possession.
Of course.
Halloween 3. Silent Rage. Chuck Norris's only horror film. They Call Me Bruce.
Yep.
Turkey Shoot.
I know. There's an Aussie one.
Cue the Winged Serpent. Creep Show.
Yep.
House on Sorority Row. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Great movie.
The Dark Crystal. The Verdict.
Incredible.
And Jekyll and Hyde Together Again, which is one of my favorites.
Basket Case.
Yeah.
Grease 2.
Grease 2 is on that list, yeah.
Did you say Grease 2?
No.
Yeah.
It is...
and, of course, good old Albert, his first one, Sword and the Sorcerer.
Yeah, right.
An Albert Pune classic. Probably his definitive classic, really, when it comes to fandom.
The only reason he got to make any others.
Highest grossing independent film of all time at the time and for a very long time afterwards.
Yeah.
There we go.
But if it had sucked, there would have been no Albert Pune.
Yeah,
like he never would
Kickboxer 2 would not be a thing. Well, it would be, but somebody else would have done it.
Would have done it, yeah.
But Alien from LA, that would not exist.
No.
So what do you reckon?
Almost...
What do you reckon? What's your favourite from 1982? Can I say mine first?
Sure.
I think my vote has to go with The Thing.
Yeah.
When I tally them all up, the one movie that really stands out is The Thing. But I think First Blood close behind it. That movie has a real impact on my movie going journey.
Yeah. I'd be very hard pressed. I mean, look, The Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the time, so 82, I would have been 3 years old.
Yeah.
So, like, in that kind of proceeding, like, I wouldn't have watched any of those other movies for at least 10 years after this. Well, 82.
Dark Crystal I watched not long after because it would have been, a year or two before home video in Australia, which was the age that I was getting into tapes, and Dark Crystal scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Really scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, terrifying. There's fucking Skeksis and Aughra are terrifying.
Yep.
And they're just plain mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And the funny one, like E.T. is, and the Boneheads don't mention E.T., and E.T. is at the top of the list.
I mean,
of the gross earners.
It's a masterpiece.
And I know, look, everyone loves it.
I do.
And I loved it as well.
Yeah.
But I have never, ever really been tempted to go back to watch it again in the last 10, 15 years. Like, I just...
Because it's funny, because I think that, so many things that have come after, like The Goonies, like Stranger Things, owe a lot to E.T.
What's that other J.J. Abrams
Super
one?
8?
Super 8.
Getting a 4K release real soon. Yeah, I love that movie. That's
with all the digital lens flare you could handle.
That's right. I feel like we wouldn't have Stranger Things if it wasn't for Super 8. I really think that sort of lit the fire for that.
Yeah.
And paved the way for it to come. Well, should we find out what the Boneheads think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size, and we're back for another season. They say they would. They say it. They say they cancel us, and they was wrong because Glenn can't find anybody to come on the show other than
I like my grandfather, will only be canceled by scurvy.
We are going to be picking our favorite movies of 1982. In fact, most of the season we'll be picking our favorite movies starting with 1982. Gentlemen, who would like to go first?
I am going to volunteer to go last because I want to see what you two guys pick.
I will go first. 1982, we even did an episode of this on Bonehead Weekly, shameless plug of every movie that came out. But as many good movies as there is that year, one of my favorite John Carpenter, actually my favorite John Carpenter film, and one of my it's just one of my comfort films with Blazing Saddles and several other things, is The Thing.
Yeah,
John
you
Carpenter,
can't call The Thing a guilty pleasure.
No, it's not. That's the reason I stopped myself. I don't even know
Yeah.
where it was coming from. The Thing was misunderstood when it came out. The Thing was much maligned. The Thing has went on to be his signature film. Well, I guess it's Halloween, but for me, it's The Thing. It just holds so well. Yeah, there's a couple effects that still are a little Yankee, but I mean, for the most part, The Thing is a superb movie. Next, James.
I could talk about a movie that tells us about what is good in life, which came close. I could talk about one of my favorite franchise films, but actually, gentlemen, or I could talk about this alien that phones home. But I'm going to talk about something way, way more important.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a movie that reminds us that our lives will be gone like tears in the rain.
Sweet. You're going to talk about Legend.
Blade Runner. Blade Runner is just a phenomenal, phenomenal film. Oddly enough, I wouldn't say watch the version that got released in 1982. You should watch it, but probably not your first time. Watch the theatrical. Watch Ridley Scott's cut first. That being said, Blade Runner 1982, just what a great movie.
Chad.
All right, so
at least
going to be completely honest with you, my favorite movie from 1982 was The Thing, as Joe mentioned. But I'm gonna because Joe's perfectly captured The Thing. I do want to talk about a movie that quickly follows up to The Thing, because it was a key movie from my childhood that I loved so much and I watched constantly, and that is Richard Pryor's The Toy. I really, really loved Richard Pryor.
Directed by the late, great Dick Donner, Richard Donner.
Yeah, yes. Starring Jackie Gleason, Richard Pryor. That movie was essential to my childhood viewing as all the way up until my teens.
I liked it too when I was a kid. I just haven't watched it in 30 years.
Yeah, it still has some significance to my just in terms of my childhood. It doesn't hold up as well, to be honest with you. But I still do really love it, and it's one of my favorite movies, so I have to put it as my 1982 reference, even though there are so many movies from 1982.
I honestly thought you would say Porky's. Huh.
This has been Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. Come back next week where we may do 1983.
Fight. That's a strong, punchy intro to a segment that's probably just going to be another decent casual chat.
Yeah.
Ding ding.
It's not like we really should have. If I would have known that was the intro, and I there may be and like had we kind of discussed it more, maybe we could have done a thing where we picked films and then would fight each other over them. But we kind of haven't done that. We've just picked two films that have
this or that.
Yeah, share a similar theme that we can.
Would you rather is essentially the name of the game. Hey, that intro,
marry, fuck, kill.
That intro is it's pending. Like it's I had nothing else. I whacked it in there. So feel free to create a new one if you want something a bit more subdued.
No,
just like a little slap instead of a.
Yeah, like a limp wristed slap. Right. Oh, you.
So, the movie battle of choice is Garden State versus Grosse Pointe Blank. Interesting choice. Obviously, see the theme there. Oh my goodness! Off the top of my head, before we decided we were going to go with this, I think you floated it, and my initial thought was, well, Garden State all the way. I think that to me is the movie that I've probably seen more, probably get more out of, and yet I just revisited Grosse Pointe Blank recently. It's fucking great.
Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah, right. So
except I haven't revisited Garden State.
Yep.
Since I saw it theatrically.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe when it came out in home entertainment, I would have been working at the video store at the time, and I may have put it on. But it's also one of those films that if you do put it on the shop and customers come in, you want to tell them to shut up because you're watching a movie.
There was more in Garden State for me to latch onto. I think that the soundtrack made a big difference. I liked the chemistry between the characters. Like it was my kind of music at the time.
Yeah.
And Peter Sarsgaard, he's become like my favorite actor now. So in retrospect, I go back and watch it and think, man, if only I'd been on board with him right from the start, would have enjoyed his journey.
But for me, he's always been he has always been the guy from Garden State.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like that's just who he is.
He kind of does have a very same kind of typecast thing going. But recently, in like September 5 and Memory this year or last year, incredible performances, quite different from each other. So he's probably my favorite actor at the moment. So yeah, Garden State I think just nudges across the line. However, Grosse Pointe Blank has so much good stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's weird though because it's a hitman that's going to a high school
reunion. Yeah.
It's one of the latter Dan Aykroyd things I've liked.
But it's very similar. But it's very similar. Like the whole premise of Garden State is that he's coming home after basically taking himself off his medication.
Yeah.
Like weaning himself off his meds. And then going back home and kind of because he's been medicated since he was a kid, and it's one of those from memory, and it's been a long time, but one of those things where he probably didn't need to be medicated in the first place.
And he meets a girl that's also heavily medicated at the clinic or whatever.
Yeah,
and
but she kind of does need to be medicated
for sure.
And it's Natalie Portman at her most.
Kooky.
I was going to say appealing, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like an older version of the character she played in Beautiful Girls.
Beautiful Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. And I love that there's a character in the movie. I haven't seen Garden State in a long time, but I think there's a character in there that got rich off making soundproof Velcro.
Was that? I thought he. Yeah.
The mate that's done well.
That has done well. Which I mean, he is a cautionary tale that terrifies me because I have my entire life now is really predicated on winning the lottery. Like, I just can't see a way...
Or one good idea. Like
that, yeah. I can't see a way that I'm ever going to, afford a house or to even be able to live alone in a house as a rental with the way that the economy is right now. Like, it's just unattainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm
if
just, I'm just laughing because I thought of a post-edit thing I could do there.
Yeah. I'm going to hate that. But that guy, the guy's just so bored and so so lonely. Yeah. He's like, oh Jesus, don't tell me that. But look, I don't have the soundtrack for Garden State. I do have the soundtrack.
That's there's
a lot of shins on the Garden State soundtrack from memory. Is it shins?
That kind of stuff, yeah.
That kind of stuff, which I do I do really like. But I did the because it is a high school reunion. They're going back to 80s.
It's very 80s. And Minnie Driver plays the radio DJ that plays all the 80s stuff.
All those 80s songs.
For sure.
Jeremy Piven pops up. Benny the Jet. Like all of the...
Oh, is that the guy from Clarice and Sons of Anarchy? Because he's in it. Michael... I can't remember his name. He's Clarice's boss in that Silence of the Lambs TV show with the home and away chick. Never mind. He's in it, though. He plays like the guy that... He's the loser on the dance floor, and they all tell to get away, and
he's actually loaded.
He overdoes it. No. He's just a fucking loser.
Right. Trying to remember who that is. But I love the soundtrack for Grosse Pointe Blank. I love. There's a lot of Clash and stuff like that. In
Joe Strummer did he produced the soundtrack.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So for me, look.
There you go, Michael Cudlitz.
Michael Cudlitz. Yeah, right.
Yeah, almost got it. Yeah.
It is one of those. It is weird because look intellectually, you could definitely argue that Garden State is a superior film. It's a much more adult film, whereas Grosse Pointe Blank is much lighter. Yet
dark.
It's a black, but it's
He
a
kills
black
a guy
comedy.
at the reunion.
The reunion, yeah, with a pen.
I wondered, like, I've heard that John Cusack's been asked what his favourite films are of his own, and he said, he goes, I've only ever made 3 or 4 good movies. Grosse Pointe Blank is the one that he thinks is his best.
Is his best, yeah.
And I wonder if he's got a stipulation in his contract that he has to wear black baseball caps in movies.
He does. He definitely does, yeah.
Because he's wearing them in everything.
Yeah. He definitely does.
Incredible.
But that's the...
It suits him.
I mean, and the beauty of... Because I think Grosse Pointe Blank 2 might have been the first time where I'd seen someone purposely cast against type.
Yep.
Because he's always... up until that point, John Cusack was pretty much always the romantic comedy lead.
Yep, the say anything kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, Better Off Dead and all that sort of stuff. And then... He's like a long, gangly... And he's been doing mixed martial arts and stuff for years. Mm-hmm. He was into it as a kind of
and
kid.
he really flexes it in the movie.
And he really does it in this. Yeah, and I think Benny the Jet is his coach. Like, was one of the people that coaches him.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's in the film, who he kills with the pen in the high school. And yeah, he gets his foot up above his head and stuff like that, and those kicks and everything. And he's
Certainly does.
You kind of realize he's a long, gangly man.
Yeah, and curiously, the movie he made several years later, War Inc., he considers it an informal sequel.
Oh,
because he plays the same character, different name, but he's a hitman, kind of going not a reunion, but he's going back to his past, revisiting old friends, whatever. Dan Aykroyd is in it. Someone else from Grosse Pointe Blank is in it too, and Cusack
or something.
Joan
Jones
Cusack.
I think that's also a stipulation.
Yeah, that's right. And Anne Cusack, they're both
Cusack,
in there.
yeah.
In fact, when she rocks up in Grosse Pointe Blank, she looks exactly like Joan Cusack.
I've seen her in a couple of movies of her on her own.
Yeah,
and they always takes me by surprise. I'm like, is another Cusack going to show up in this?
Yeah, I know.
She doesn't have the muscle to insist that any other Cusacks are in her films.
But when she rocked up in Grosse Pointe Blank, I thought, how does she get from the office to the... And then, okay, it's a different character. Right,
different
gotcha.
sister.
But yeah, no, War Inc. is considered to be a follow-up to Grosse Pointe Blank. So watch it with that in mind. And
I'm going to have to check that out.
So this is a battle and no one won. Like, what...
It's a lot more like a battle than I thought, because in my head I was like, oh, it's so obvious. We're both going to choose Grosse Pointe Blank.
No, we went opposites.
Yeah, we went opposites.
But has your mind been changed? Mine hasn't. I think I still go Garden State.
Yeah, no, I still go Grosse Pointe Blank, but with the caveat that I have to watch Garden State again.
Okay, and I'll only watch Grosse Pointe Blank with a baseball cap.
A black baseball cap.
It's like a tie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hat and a tie. All right. Time to wrap up the show with a bit of rapid fire recommendations. We always have ended the show with recommendations, but never rapid fire.
They've never been fast.
Okay, so mine is Bad Blood. You?
Is that it?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can be that rapid.
Okay, so yeah, I may as well jump into it. Bad Blood, it's a New Zealand film from 1981. Mike Newell, one of his earliest films. He's gone on to do some very big things. Harry Potter amongst them, Four Weddings and a Funeral, you name it. This is an incredible film that I never knew existed until I found it a few weeks ago. It's Jack Thompson, Carol Byrne, Dennis Lill, and Marshall Napier in it, and it is the true story of a farmer in New Zealand that goes on a little bit of a rampage. It's a bit of a massacre, kills a whole lot of people from town in his front yard, and then retreats into the mountains, and there's a manhunt for him. Brutal movie. And he plays a farmer who, him and his wife, are sort of the outcasts of the town. He's sort of, no one can get along with him. He's grumpy, and just he's got a problem with everything.
Yeah.
And then when they come to take his rifle away because World War II is on, and apparently in New Zealand, everyone had to surrender their firearms, certain firearms, must have been to use in the war or something like that. He refused, and tensions rose, and he just fucking killed all the officials. And
sounds great.
Yeah, so I won't go into it any further than that. It's on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. I think it's on Amazon Prime as well, if you want a better version of it. Really intense. Jack Thompson doing what he does best. Never knew it existed. Really glad I found it. Bad Blood.
Bad Blood. Well, I look because of Gene Hackman's passing, I went back and watched one of my Gene Hackman favourites that I haven't watched in a while.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go.
Royal Tenenbaums?
No.
Okay, go on.
I do love the Royal Tenenbaums, though. But no, The Package.
Oh.
Because I'm all about my junk.
Yeah, nice package.
Nice package. What a fantastic film. This, along with Gene Hackman, Tommy Lee Jones, Joanna Cassidy, Dennis Franz, Pam Grier, Chelsea Ross, John Hurd, and it's directed by Andrew Davis, who is also responsible for films like
The Fugitive,
Under Siege,
The Guardian Holes,
The Final Terror, Holes,
Yep.
Collateral Damage, Chain Reaction. Like, not a bad one in there,
and
really.
he has fallen off the radar. The Guardian with Kevin Costner was the last thing he's done. Hasn't made a movie since. Although I did read, I think he's got a website saying...
Maybe Kevin Costner broke him.
Maybe. He's got a website saying that he's got something in development, but that every filmmaker kind of says that, don't they?
You should reach out and try and get him on the show.
I really should.
Send him an
let's do
email.
that.
So basically, the premise of The Package, and I watched this, it is on Amazon Prime. You have to get the MGM channel to grab it, and it's the only place. I think you can buy it on Apple. But it's one of those things where you go in and you can rent it for $4.99, or you can subscribe to MGM for a month for $5.99. I subscribe for a month for $5.99.
I reckon it'll be available to hire on YouTube as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yep. So basically, it's all set during the nuclear arms kind of negotiations in West Germany, which was still or when Germany was still divided by the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
Between America and the US, and Gene Hackman is a Green Beret kind of security specialist, sergeant, and he is detailed to take this this soldier back home to face court-martial, who apparently can't stop punching officers in the face. Right. And that officer is Tommy Lee Jones. And when he gets home, they land, and very similar to Witness, they go into the bathroom where he gets cocked on the back of the head by some other patrons in the bathroom, and Tommy Lee Jones escapes. And while he's trying to figure out what happened, he discovers that Tommy Lee Jones is not actually the soldier he was supposed to be bringing back. He did it under that name, and he can't figure out why. And then someone else says, well, that means that somebody's back in the country and no one knows it. Mm-hmm. And so then he basically has to trying to find Tommy Lee Jones while there's this massive kind of conspiracy theory in the upper echelons of the army trying to stop him. And they frame him for murder. They kill his friends and colleagues. They blow up buildings, all sorts of stuff. It's a great kind of cat and mouse thriller. And Gene Hackman is great in it.
Awesome. Looks fantastic. And it explains why Tommy Lee Jones then went on to do The Fugitive and Under Siege.
Yeah. It's a show. I was actually looking it up. I think it's a real shame that because they really only have two scenes together, Tommy Lee Jones and Gene Hackman.
Yep.
And considering that they would both grow up to be grumpy old men, it's a real shame that they didn't. Could you imagine a movie like Secondhand Lions, but with Tommy Lee Jones and Gene Hackman?
Or Grumpy Old Men 3.
Or Grumpy Old Men 3 with their...
there we go. Awesome stuff. First show for the year. Done. In the bag. Happy with that. Video form. Let's see how that goes.
It's my biggest nightmare.
That's right. Thank you for watching. It's good to say that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this on your socials. That'd be great. Nothing more for it but to sign off, and we'll see you next week. Got another action-packed one. I think got a Mr. Ben Helwig hosting.
Yes. Get ready, 4:30 next Friday. You got some planning to do.
Ciao.
Bye.